Well, hello again, little hoes. So today I will show you the kitchen windowsill and probably the bathroom. So let me spin you around. And again, guys, I just want to reiterate, I didn't clean anything in preparation for this. So, yes, let us keep going. I have some cuttings of pothos, the golden pothos, just in water in this macrame hanger, and I actually really like it here. This is generally my propagation area for water cuttings. I have a couple of empty things here and a micans in the teacup. Another Ripsalis, and I really need to get tags for some of my plants because I constantly forget or mix up the species. This particular one has been kind of lingering, doesn't really want to grow. It has periods of dieback and then regrowth, so I don't really know how to appease it. It might be one that needs a little bit more humidity. On and off success with these guys, the Hoya Kurtisya. This one has been less vigorous than this particular plant. I'm not sure why that is, but this one has been doing pretty good. It's got some new growth on it. Pretty easy care. I just have to remember not to overwater. Cuttings again. And this cool guy is the Cystis tuberosa my coworker gave me. It is a caudex plant, and oftentimes it will go somewhat dormant, but it hasn't this year yet. I don't know if that's still to come. We still have quite a bit of winter ahead of us, but yeah, I am happy with it. It is a vining plant. I have had it vine quite a bit more. My Maramo moss balls, my pickle plant, a type of senecio. I have mixed feelings about it. I'm not a huge senecio fan. This one's kind of cool. I like the pattern that is on the stems, but it's just kind of a wild and gangly fellow. And then more cuttings down here, some begonias and Adansonii. And then this guy making an entrance is sad, spider-ridden Alocasia poly. And to have an Alocasia or Colocasia is to have spider mites. I really do like the look of this plant, the shape, the exoticness. Is that a word? Exoticness of it. So that's why I keep it around. I do occasionally spray and or wash down the leaves, but it doesn't help a tremendous amount, but it at least nukes the population so the plant has a chance at regrowing a little bit. It does a lot more of that regrowth when it's warm out. A Hernia Schneideriana. Again, I'm terrible with the species. Oh my god, it has a little bloom. I don't know. Can you see that? Tiny little bloom. What a perfect timing. The flowers are cute, but they oftentimes are pretty hidden in there. This right here is an orchid cactus. I believe it's the golden variety. I had a moment with epiphyllums and I absolutely wanted them all different colors, but now I realize how much of a space commitment they are. And so while I may keep the ones I have, I'm probably not going to get any new ones, especially considering how long it takes them to mature to bloom and how long of a time period it is to get them to rebloom. So just, bit more than the average houseplant grower can accommodate, including me. This dude is a Crassula. It's okay. It's, Not as cool as some of the species that I see elsewhere online. Another epiphyllum from my coworker. This one apparently has sort of reddish flowers. Another Tephro-cactus papyracanthus, something like that. A Jatropha podagrica, which is a caudexy plant. It drops all of its leaves pretty much during the winter, and then spring will regrow. And a variegated bear paw. All of this is just so terribly, terribly backlit. I don't know if you'll even notice it, but that's the windowsill garden. This is probably my favorite planty spot in the house. The bathroom. I just really enjoy being up close and personal with the plants and kind of getting to interact with them as I do my business. Not so much on the shitter, but you know, I'm right by the sink here. So let me show you what I got. I do keep a lot of humidity needy plants in here, or plants that I really just need to focus more energy time on, because I do use the bathroom, use the sink so frequently. The intense need plants do well here. So I'll start with my cool shelf, which I love over the windowsill here. It's just perfect. This is my Ceropegia linearis subspecies debilis, and it's an odd one. I do enjoy it. I like the general look of it. It is a bit picky, and I feel a little bit more delicate than the normal string of hearts Ceropegia. I have it in a cactus mix, but I almost wonder if just regular potting soil that retains a little bit more moisture wouldn't be better for it. I keep it in the bathroom because I do see the most growth in here because it's humid. I did have it briefly in the sunroom, and while it did get some really pretty purpley sun stress to it, it stopped growing. So I want to encourage more growth, take some cuttings off of it, so it's going to be in here for a while. My Epipremnum pinnatum from Julia. The recently potted up Hammerhead gold philodendron. The Peperomia Prestrata string of turtles, which I can't wait for it to start trailing down, 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 down. It loves it up here. It is kind of growing a little bit front facing toward the light, so I might need to rotate it around more often. Up on this pole, which, by the way, Casey has a 3D printer and made that for me. I am really enjoying it. I think it's kind of a cool way to grow plants up a totem or moss pole, and you can change out the moss whenever you want. That is my skeleton key epipremnum, and next to it my amazing Syngonium Winlandii. Moving down, this is the Anthurium veitchii. It's been doing really good in this little terracotta pot. I think it really gets a lot of airflow, which it appreciates. Then the little Euphorbia lactea, I believe. Very slow grower for me. Monstera Kersteniannum Peru. Doing okay. Again, kind of a weird growth pattern on this. It has some very sparse growth here. I may at some point try and put a few more cuttings at the base just to get a bit of a fuller plant. But cuttings take forever in my estimation with the Perus. A very amazing gift from Julia, a variegated form of the Kersteniannum. This new leaf appears to be all green, so I'll let it grow up, but I might need to, if it keeps going with the all green, chop it back down. My Ring of Fire philodendron. This plant has really, really improved. I've mentioned it before. I almost killed it first year. It's very sensitive to overwatering with this guy. And I put it in a very, very chunky, perlite heavy, almost 50-50 mix and stuck it in this window. The bright but diffuse light really improved its health and color. When you get a new growth on this leaf, it is like that really intense pinkish orange, and then it fades to more of this golden before turning more limey, really. So I'm super impressed with this plant. It's really turned itself around. Did the hokey pokey and is happy clam now. This is the network calathea, the Calathea mosaica, and it has brown tips. It's kind of a picky plant. Boyfriend loves it, which is why I probably haven't given up on it. It's very cool. I do need to probably either start collecting rainwater or get some distilled water, especially for it, since Calathea hate that mineral buildup. Another cool leaf coloration pattern is this Alocasia, Zabrina, Reticulata. The Reticulata has this leaf variegation as opposed to the species, which is just that awesome zebra print stems. And I am kind of shocked that I can grow this plant so well. He seems super happy. I probably should repot him at some point, but I'm kind of nervous to do so. I don't want to disturb a good thing. And my amazing Varicosum Philodendron. Got this from Ecuagenera. I got the one that has more of the reddish backsides to it. I really love the coloration, and even more so the fuzzy petioles. I mean, God, that's just such a cool leaf. And this naked part here, there was a leaf about to emerge there, but I forgot to water it at one point during this unfurling, and it aborted the leaf. So, my bad. It looks kind of funny, but at some point I may decide to chop and prop, and I'll probably do so along this long stem. Yeah. Now over here, this is, oops, I touched it. Anthurium crystallinum. This is a new leaf right here. It has holes in it, as does the last leaf that unfurled in my care. This one I did kind of sort of mess with a bit as it was unfurling. This one I really didn't, but it's getting these holes, and I'm not sure if, since that main vein has kind of been severed by that hole, if it will die off or not. I have been thinking about moving it to the grow tent because I'm thinking that it's needing more humidity for this particular species. That's my only guess, other than, it being maybe disturbed as it was unfurling and I didn't notice. I don't know. But yeah, I think the grow tent shuffle will have to recommence to make room for this dude. And next, the most amazing Syngonium. Syngonium reii. So velvety. I do really wish that it would keep its more silver veining, but apparently that's something that only the super juvenile forms have. You can see a little bit here. It is kind of dusty, but very cool plant. Same day, but I'm going to try and get through a little bit more of the tour since I have more time. So let me show you. Over here, I have my beautiful Frederica cat. Hi. The prettiest flower in the collection. Hi. Hi. My big Monstera Deliciosa, which I've mentioned before, it was like multi-stalk, kind of floppy, and I trained it to be just more of like a stocky, no leaf at the bottom situation. And I also put some little Christmas lights in there. And then a really ugly bird of paradise. I believe it's the white one. I appreciate the overall effect of the large leaves, but I'm kind of over bird of paradise. It's good if you have the sun and the space, but if you have a smaller situation, I would probably skip this plant. And then this is my main growing area, the living room, or one of the living rooms. And it is a mess. Pardon. This is my Orchid Cactus, which I think he had a bit of a fungal leaf issue. I cut one of them off, so that's why it's kind of top heavy. Then I'm going to start over here. This is the Florida Beauty Dracena. I'm not a Dracena fan, but I think this is pretty cool. I kind of wanting a Milky Way next. I know it's kind of difficult to obtain them, but on my one-day list. An epically slow-growing Norfolk Pine. This is my terrarium. And I have a bunch of super high humidity and rehab plants in here. The vines taking over is Cystis amazonica, a cool plant that needs a haircut very bad. I enjoy the silver leaves on this quite a bit, and they are more intense with that grow light on. Some little pileas in there. I think somewhere amidst all this chaos is a russet club moss, a Rhaphidophora crypantha in the back, some jewel orchids, again somewhere amidst all this chaos, a Begonia burkillii, I believe. Not 100% on the species, which is taking over. It might be the wrong plant choice for in here. I started out literally with like a one leaf cutting. Then the massive elephant in the room is the billetii or billetiae. Look at how ruffly it is. I would open this door, but no, I'll just open it. Listen. Oh, nails on chalkboard. I maybe need to like lube that up somehow. And an Anthurium rugosum, who was not doing very good in the bathroom, just needed more intense humidity, so I plopped her in here. Ugh. Up top, I have an amazing gift from Suzette. This is the McDowell's or Pastazanum. It needs a dusting. Most of the leaves in here, I think, should be on a bit more frequent dusting schedule, but whatever. It does have some new growth down here. It did kind of go through a phase of sulking after getting it and hasn't done a whole lot, but I think that new growth is going to start popping soon. I did repot it, so it might be a bit of a wait time before I see a lot of growth. My recently potted up Syngonium blinding light. You can see awesome variegation there. Less awesome here, and a bunch of green growth in between. So I'm just gonna keep growing it out, see if I can get more splashy foliage. If not, I'll probably cut right there and see if I can't get it to sprout out with some better variegation. A cool Begonia Rhisinofolia, which has like these furry petioles, like clumpy furry petioles. And look at this guy. This is my Squamiferum, and it's been a while since it pushed out new growth. It used to grow very prolifically in the bathroom, but he quickly outgrew that space, so I had to move him in here. I did repot, slightly too big of a pot, and I'm sure he's kind of had to adjust to that. I propagated it for Suzette, and that's where that chonky side growth is coming from and why it's there. Mottled Syngonium Potophilum, doing super well. I did finally, at long last, chop him because he was growing so crazily and top heavy that most of the poles that I have aren't big enough to contain him. So I did some chopping and propping. I'm excited to see the babies grow. Super sad, kind of over it. Sansevieria cylindrica, that is holding up some of my cords. That is its only saving grace, is the fact that it's a bit heavy and holding down my cords so they don't bring the whole grow lights down with them. Variegated Monstera Stanliana. This is an incredibly thirsty and dramatic plant. I do need to stake it once it gets a little bit bigger, but I have it in a terracotta pot, and I almost wonder if that's a bad idea, that it's contributing to it drying out too much. I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe this spring repotting it yet again, maybe a plastic or ceramic pot that doesn't dry out quite as bad. A tissue-cultured Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, the Philodendron Camposportianum. Got a lot of growth. I did propagate this one piece. I'm going to give some to a friend and then maybe sell a cutting or two. And this I'm just leaving up because I want to see the more matured leaf, if I can get it to grow enough to get that maturity, because they're pretty cool. This is, I think, probably the most mature leaf of the bunch so far. You can kind of see it's starting to get some definition, lobiness there. I don't know. A wild and crazy Girls Gone Wild Siltapicana. And I'm doing a up and over type situation with it right now. It is one of the easiest, fastest growing. I love propagating this guy. I've got a number of them over under my grow light, which I'll show you in a bit. My cool lime fiddle. This is such an interesting plant, and I do appreciate how vigorous it's been. Got this from New Life this past year, and I think this is probably the newest leaf. Very shiny. This is the Shangri-La Epipen. It's got some cool contortions going on. I love contorted plants. They hold a special place in my heart. Anthurium radiatum. I really didn't know if I would enjoy this plant. My friend said, get it, you will love it. And you were right, Jess. I do love it. So cool. My floor situation. I've got a recovering Scindapsus, a non-tissue cultured Rhaphidophora that's having some issues that I don't know how to fix. My Tahiti Philodendron, which has just recently started churning out quite a bit of new growth. I don't know that I had a big enough pole from the get-go, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure out how to stake it once it gets past there. My Diascoria Discolor came back from what I thought was imminent death, but popped back from the little tubers, and I have it growing up this trellis. It doesn't have enough tubers, root system to plant it directly in here, so I just have it in the pot, I have been doing something interesting though. I have a little drip tray down here, and I do sometimes fill that with water so that the terracotta uptakes that water and sort of acts as like a slow diffuser and adds some humidity so that the leaves hopefully come out a little less wonky. So I'm a little proud of myself for that idea. It's kind of cool. My sad Monstera albo. I know that the white typically doesn't last and it burns, but it makes me so sad. I'm hoping that I get a little bit more diffuse patterning like this guy to, retain more of the leaf if I can. And I rotted out that guy. I'm sad about that. I think it just got a little too wet at one point. Now to my cool greenhouse-ish situation. Rachel of Heart-Shaped Leaves came up with a great idea to just get some shower curtains to put around a planty rack, and it really works pretty well. It could be more humid in my opinion, but I think that would just be a matter of trying to plug up some of the leaky situations, the wrinkles that cause a lot of it to evaporate, but it does the trick. Up there is kind of a recovering staghorn. Now in here is really where the magic lies for me. This in the back is a Philodendron Allegiance. I did propagate it because it was getting pretty whippy, and I keep forgetting that I need to put it in some actual soil. So my bad. A Grazielle, which is just, it's awkward looking. Baby Tahiti. A Mame, which, despite this being the most humid spot in the whole entire house, it's not humid enough to keep it from snapping its goddamn new growth. And I don't know how to remedy this. I don't know how to make it any more humid in here. It's a bit of a disappointment, honestly. Not a disappointment is this Florida Ghost. Such a cool plant and well worth all the time it took to import it. Look at that. Buttery Kerrygold goodness. Oh, and those reddish petioles. Oh. Love it. Now, my Jose, it is getting massive. You can see there. I did propagate it recently, and I think that the newest growth is probably the coolest. And I'll show it to you guys when I do my propagation box update. A baby burl marks variegated in the back. I think that it's starting to grow out too much green, so I might need to chop it again. A Ripsalis paradoxa that Julie gave me. I love it. I am keeping it in here just to help get it going, maybe stimulate some new growth with all this humidity. Another Tahiti baby. A Melanochrysum that Julia generously sent me, and it's starting to look pretty decent now that it's in this humid environment. I'm hopeful that all the leaves will start coming out a little bit easier now and less distorted like these dudes. The stuck and preserved in time and ice Philodendron fibrosum. It has these crispy leaves. I'm guessing from lack of humidity. I've kind of since ruled out a fungal issue since it hasn't spread to anyone and it's been a while. but it does not want to pop that new leaf. It's been literally probably half a year, honestly. It does not want to grow. I don't know. Hopefully spring, warm temperatures, more humidity will stimulate it, but I've almost given up on this plant. My massively big, I've shown you many times, variegated burl marks, and my favorite leaf on it thus far. So cool. It is an awkward grower, and I'm tempted at some point to sort of chop it down so I have a little bit, you know, more moundy growth, but that's probably a summer project. And moving on to the last, the Philodendron Gloriosum, which this leaf is everything. It is so gorgeous. Such a very long road to getting it to come out looking decent and not, you know, tear through itself as it was emerging. The trick is really the extra humidity in here. Philodendron hastatum, the Splash Gordon that I recently propagated. It's weird variegation. The aberrant form Rugosum, another recent propagation. Siltapicana baby. And in here I'm putting my Ceropegia aristolochoides, and I don't know, can you guys see? It's got some roots growing in here, and I think this high humidity is really helping to stimulate its growth. I have some Rhaphidophora crypantha cuttings in there and Stephania erecta bulbs. A very unpleasant looking Brantianum. I was hoping that it would start looking better in the grow tent, but it's kind of just status quo, maybe slightly better. A baby Cebu blue. A potentially dead Hoya obovata and another Hoya Latherbachia that really started to decline in winter, as I find it's kind of very typical of that particular one. I don't know if you can see it. A subhastatum that I need to move out of here because it's growing so tall so fast that it's growing up through there. And lastly, I will show you what's under the Mars Hydro. There's some sadness, there's some pleasantness, and right off the bat, I'll show you the Variegated Monstera Insonii one. The cutting died. I'm just gonna throw that away. I am very incredibly disappointed about that, but what can you do? You know, I think that, let me miss this since I'm here. I think that it was just so tiny and didn't have much energy to go off of that it just slowly died, and nothing I did could stimulate it to grow. I'm heartbroken. You can't tell from my voice, but I am truly heartbroken. But life goes on, right? I've got a bunch of Monstera Siltapicana and Micans under here too, and so far they seem to be doing good. The light might be slightly intense, but it also could be because I had these cuttings in lower light. But so far, the Mars Hydra is doing pretty good. It is so bright, though, that I can't really keep it on too long at night, especially when Casey and I are trying to go to bed, because it'll keep you up. But it does the job really well. I will say it does get a little bit hot. So, I mean, not a huge issue, but just be aware, don't have any leaves up against it like the subhastatum here, because it will burn them. Also, probably a good idea to keep it away from thin plastic since it's hot. My only complaint with it, and I do love this light, it's super intense lighting and seems to be pretty decent pricing for this type of light. My only complaint is that it doesn't have a on-off switch for it, so I will literally have to unplug it every time I want to turn it off. And I have a lot of cords going on here, so I can't really put a timer in successfully, but I would suggest getting a timer if you get this grow light. I think it will be really helpful. You don't have to worry about turning it on and off like I do. That concludes the houseplant tour of 2020. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Any questions along the way, just let me know. As always, stay safe, healthy, and sane, and I will talk to y'all real soon. Goodbye.